The moves to end the Gulf crisis seem to have intensified in recent weeks, and with the GCC summit coming up later in December, there could well be a breakthrough of some sort. The dialogue between Saudi Arabia and Qatar is a development that is welcomed in a sense that at least there are issues on the table that can be negotiated over, unlike the so-called 13 demands imposed or attempted to be imposed on Qatar by the 4 blockading states in June 2017, which were not the basis for any realistic negotiation. They were more of a take it or leave it approach. By focusing on specific issues such as the airspace issue, the reopening of the land border, and potentially for Qatar to withdraw some of the international lawsuits against Saudi Arabia and the other countries involved in the blockade, there are potential aspects that the parties can talk about and try to reach a deal supported by Kuwait and by the United States. I think there is willingness on the part of the Saudis to reach an agreement with Qatar. The Saudi perspective, I think, is that there's little more to be gained by continuing to try to isolate Qatar. It hasn't worked. It's failed to produce any results. And with Biden coming in the US, the Saudis do need to try to move on a certain number of files to make progress, to show that they also can move forward from the politics of the recent past. Where the difficulty may be is if the Saudis can bring the United Arab Emirates, the UAE, on board to any wider deal that could really try to move beyond this last phase of Gulf relations, just because it's been the UAE that has been a driving force behind a lot of the animosity towards Qatar over the last 3 years, and also to the decision at the beginning in 2017 to launch the blockade. So whether the Saudis can bring the UAE into any deal at a time when we are also seeing Saudi and Emirati perspectives on regional issues such as Turkey, such as the OPEC oil price issue, an output issue, and also on Yemen, beginning to drift apart, whether or not there can be a proper deal involving all parties to the blockade, not just a bilateral Saudi-Qatari one, will, I think, be the test to whether or not a final reconciliation can be reached, and also whether a deal is just a stepping stone, and the sort of longer-term process of trying to rebuild ties of trust and confidence, which will have to follow on from any such agreement, whether or not that can continue, or whether there will be roadblocks and potential spoilers in the future that will make this deal, if it is indeed a deal, which will make it vulnerable to reversal.